Hey, what's up, folks? Today is September the 4th, 2024, and so today is just going to be a continuation. I guess it's like part 4. It's just going to be a continuation of the scripts that we've been working on. I don't really have anywhere that I'm going with this. I'm just trying to keep adding things and make it as complex as possible before it just kind of implodes or explodes. Anyway, so what we're going to do today, I've got a few things I want to do. One, we're going to move the plots and we're going to change the defaults. And then 2, we're going to change the color of the lines of the input. And then 3, we're going to add a method to code trendline break and color change. So this is what we have. So this is what we pulled up from our last appointment here. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull up our chart. Nope, I'll show you that later. Okay, so all right, here we go. All right. So, I've been working on this for a little while today. You would think I would have this basic part figured out, but apparently I didn't. So we're just going to go over it together. So essentially, what we've done over the course of this these last couple of videos is that 1, we found swing lows. 2, we found a higher swing low than the one before it. So then we plotted a trend line. And that's pretty much where we're at now. So like I said, the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to move these plots here. They end up making it down here. I'm going to show you how to adjust that. So here you can just drag it up, click it and drag it up. It brings it into the main subgraph here. You can double click it and then you can go to style. And then for each one, we're just going to go to across. Don't connect the lines. These are not lines. These are just individual plots. So we're going to go here also, cross, don't connect. And then we're going to click that. Okay, so you saw there, you could just, from here, you could just click default. And when you click default, it asks you if you want to change the default. You click yes, click OK. Or you can go right into your EasyLanguage and then right click in here, go to properties, and then you can change a bunch of the stuff in here too. The style, click on this and then set that to be default. Okay, and then every time when you add it to a new screen, it automatically goes to the correct crosses instead of lines. Okay, so again, now that we have these lines, the next thing we want to do is we want to change the color of the lines using an input. All right, so we'll get this up here. We'll have an input. It's going to be color of trend lines, color, and then we're going to start it off as being blue, and then we'll also do the display name. Okay, and then we've got tooltip. Actually, we're not going to do tooltip here. You don't have to do them both. These are optional, so you don't have to do them both. Let's just verify there. All right, we don't have any issues. So we have something called color of trend lines. Now we need to assign that to the trend line itself. And actually, we're going to change this color just so that you can see that it's actually taking effect. So instead of being blue, we'll make it black. Okay, so once we change this trend line color, we don't have anything for the color at all right now, so we just go here and then we'll say the trend line 1, that's the object of the trend line. So then we do dot, and that dot brings up the properties. So we go to color and then we do color dot what, from, not ARGB, but from name. And you see that right there, that says that it's a method. That little block says it's a method. I guess a building block? I don't know what they're trying to say there. All right, so then we're going to go to color of trend lines. Color of trend lines. All right, and then once we do that, now that we've done all this other stuff, now we're going to assign the color of the trend lines, and then we're going to draw the object on the screen. So we hit verify. Oh, didn't change our color. Oh, now this is one thing that will screw you up. I'm telling you, it'll screw you up. right, is this right here. These inputs, if you change something during your program, if the input isn't, you have to deliberately change the input in order for it to take effect. So we have to go over here, we have to go to edit studies, double click on that. You see it says blue. Okay, so it says essentially what it was before. So if you don't go and deliberately change your inputs while you're working in coding, it will stay the same as what it was initially. And there's probably a reason for that. It's probably a pretty cool reason, but I know it messes me up all the time. Okay. All right, hang tight, guys. All right, I'm back. Okay, so now that we got that taken care of, we changed the color with an input. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to do one more thing. We're going to add a method to code the trend line break and a color change. So once we get a trend line here, such as this, right? So once the price breaks below it, then we want to change the color, okay? And since all these have broken below it, yeah, all these have broken below their trend line, all these colors will change, and that's okay. But what we're really looking for is, yeah, we're looking for it real time, essentially. So actually, we could code for that. All right, so I'm gonna show it to you two ways. We're gonna do that, and we're gonna do it two ways. All right, so we're gonna make a method. All right, now this is our first time doing a method on here. So a method is essentially another function, but it's a user-defined function. You can define it yourself. Yeah, when you're creating a method, of course, there are plenty of methods that are not user-defined, but you can make your own function too, right? But with your method, you're just going to make it yourself, and it'll be called on whenever you call on it from within your program. It won't be run on every bar or anything like that. Okay, so we're going to say we need to have something that says that if the high crosses under this trend line, then we're going to do some things. Okay, so first of all, we need to make sure that we do have a trend line on the chart. So we got to say if trend line, come on, not wanting to type today, is not null, and trend line, that's getting me, dot get value. You see, it's another method, and so typically with a method you're going to need parentheses. Either you have to actually put something in there, or it'll just be blank like that. But it looks like you have to put something in here. We're going to put the bar number in here, which will be whatever current bar we're on. So we're going to do max bars back plus bar number -1. And if you have any questions about that, be sure to go to some of the other videos. But this is what you will need to use in order to reference the actual current bar that you're on. Okay, so if there is a trend line and the value and the high crosses under the value of the trend line, then we're going to have a method called broken line. Okay, so I'm going to go back up here. Is where our method is going to be. Method void broken line. Okay, and again, we have void here because we're not returning anything out of this method. Everything pretty much stays local, with the exception of yeah, I mean, everything stays local. Okay, so we're going to begin, we're going to end. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set an alert, and the alert will say trend line broken. Okay, let's verify that, see what kind of issues we have so far. Oh, yeah, no semicolon. Oh, we got this up here. Now remember, your methods have to be at the very top. The only thing that can be above your methods are variables, inputs. I think constants can be here, and your namespaces. Okay. All right, so we got this set up. So it's plotting black, If the level is broken, we will have an alert triggered. And even though we have the alert triggered, we still have to go here and double click on the study, go to alerts, and turn the alerts on. Once per bar, hit that. Okay. All right, so now what we want to do is if it does cross under there, then we also want to what? Change the color. So we're going to say, now this is what took me probably about 30 or 40 minutes to try to figure out. So, you know, we've been doing a lot of things with like drawing objects where we assigned the object to a trend line. We assigned what was in the vector for the drawing object as a trend line to a trend line object, and then we worked on it. Well, essentially, we had to do the same up here. When instead of just saying, all right, we know that the object is trendline 1 dot color equals color dot red. Hit verify. That does not change the color, even though it did break under it. That doesn't change the color. So the trend line is already drawn on the chart, so you can't just change the color by saying color dot red. Not yet. And it's still, my brain still says, I feel like there's a step missing. But what you have to do is you have to say, in order to call up, I guess, the most recent trend line, you have to say trend line of 1, that's going to be the object. It's going to be equal to, we're going to go into the drawing objects collection of the third vector, which will be your trend lines, that's your enumeration, dot at, and then what is the index? So you want to change the color of the last, the most recent, which will be the last trend line. So you know how in a vector you store them like in a stack? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5 is your most recent storage. You want to capture that most recent storage. So how many trend lines do you have on the chart? You need to get the last one. So in order to do that, we need to find the count of the trend lines on the chart, which is drawing objects dot count, or of that third vector dot count, and then you got to do just -1 because we're using indexes. We're referencing an index of this vector, so we got to do -1 because it's I guess it's 0 base. It has a 0 index. Okay, so that at close that, and then that's as type trend line because we're taking the trend line out of here. So whatever index we're pulling it from, we got to make sure we call it a trend line before we assign it to trend line 1. Now we hit semicolon. Now we hit verify, and let's see. Trendline 1 dot color dot red. All right, so the trend line crosses. All right, let's do this. Let's check our prints. So we're gonna clear the print log, and we're just gonna make sure that we are actually getting this to fire off, because we have to come into the broken line method in order to do anything. So when we come into the broken line method, let's print 25. You're just gonna print the number 25. All right, so you see here we did get some prints of the number 25, so we are coming into the method. However, we're not changing the color of the trend line. And why is that? Let's see. Alert trend line drawing objects of 3 dot drawing objects third vector dot count -1. So we're pulling up the last one as type trend line, and then we're assigning the color of that trend line 1 to color dot red. And my eyes are really funky, but I don't think that's red. All right, so let's try this. We're going to have a. This is another way I got it to work. Variable, we're just going to assign it into another container of Trendline, which will be a Trendline. And we'll call this one Trendline 2. And then we'll come down here, and then we'll make this 2, we'll make this 2, and then we'll hit verify. And again, bad eyes, but I'm not sure that's red. No, that's not red. Okay. Get that out of there, get that out of there. And okay. All right, so I certainly didn't want to record all that because that was a long time of me kind of sorting and figuring stuff out. I do want to record kind of where I am at now. I wanted to kind of get it all in one straight shot, but again, you really are going to learn from the mistakes. So the mistake here, I won't necessarily say it was a mistake, but an oversight and a tough one at that. So again, use the print function, use the print log to help with your debugging process. So what I ended up doing was I ended up printing out the bar date time for each of the. I printed out the bar date time for every single bar, so I could get the not only the bar number, but then also the bar date time. And then so I also printed. I asked the computer if we're on the last bar of the chart, because it's having problems, give me the correct value for a value on the trend line. I said, well, what are you using for the value of the trend line? So print out the trend line, print out the trend line endpoint to the string, and then also print out the start point to the string. And when you print that out, it prints out this right here, which is nice, fancy. It prints out the bar number, for the initial point and for the end point, and also prints out the price that is referencing. It doesn't give you the bar date time, but it gives you the bar number, which was fine because I could take the bar number, and then after making a print statement to print the bar number on every single bar, I could go back up to 6521, and 6521 puts me right in this area. Well, guess what? It put me like right here or right here, somewhere in there. But guess what? That's the last trend line that was deleted. And that makes sense because here we took and we're deleting the extra trend lines, and just so happens the last trend line that was deleted was assigned to trend line, right? The last one that was deleted was assigned to trend line, and so now that's the last thing that was assigned to trend line, was the last one to be deleted. So now we're asking for the reference of the value of the trend line, but this is the trend line. So we're not getting the most recent one. And even if we go back up here and we say assign to trend line, now it should work up here though, right? Because now we're taking and we're assigning the last object in the drawing objects collection. We're assigning it to trend line. However, trend line was already referencing this. Well, we told it to reference it. The only thing I can think of is, and I'm gonna have to think about this later, but we're gonna make a new object that's a trend line, and I believe this is what worked before, but I still think it should work for both situations. So a new object of trend line, and instead of using trend line 1, we're going to use trend line 2. We're going to use trend line 2. And I think we had already done that, didn't we? Didn't we? Didn't we? Didn't we? Didn't we? Yeah, we did. But still. Oh, you know what? I don't even know if we're going back into the broken at this point. Let's see. Ah ha 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 ha! Hercules, Hercules! Yeah! Yo, I promise you, when you do too much coding, you will lose your mind a little bit. I guess I kind of get it, right? Einstein and, you know, some of these people who are have breakthroughs that might have a scientific breakthrough, but they've broken through their brain because it just takes that. It takes that much commitment. It really does, and you know, it's oh so man. The time and energy that you put into it to then have that euphoric moment. I can't. I mean, probably most of you who program and you've had something really hard. I mean, most people probably can relate, but this is special. This is really special because this happens all in here. It doesn't happen, you know, with your muscles. It doesn't happen with your friendships, with your relationship, with your emotions. This just happens all in here, and this is the only thing that lets us know that we're actually here. This is powerful. And when you are struggling so much with something and you have a breakthrough, oh, euphoric! All right. Okay, so yeah, what happened was in order for us to get up here in the first place, we had to have a break of this trend line. Well, what trend line are we referencing? We're referencing this one, the last one that was drawn, the one that was deleted. Come on. Okay, all right, so we need to be looking at the current trend line. Or what we could do is just take this. We could take this and put it at the end of the script. Because otherwise we need to assign, well, no, even if we put it at the end, when it goes to the next bar, it's going to have already assigned trend line to this. It's going to have assigned that most distant trend line object to this trend line variable. And so that's what this will be referencing again. Okay, so this is probably why you have multiple variables instead of trying to use the same one over and over, but it makes sense. It makes sense. Okay, all right, so we need to change one of these. One of these needs to be different. Okay, so we're going to change really we need to put this in a vector. In a method. So I tell you what, let's just copy this. We're going to cut this, and we're going to say if drawing objects of 3 dot count is greater than what was the items to keep, then delete objects. That'll be a method. Go back up here to the beginning. We're going to have that new method, which would be method void delete objects. That we're going to begin. No, we need that variable because we need a new trend line. So we're going to call this one delete trend line. It'll be trend line delete trend line. Going to paste that, and then we're going to say if drawing objects of 3 dot count. Oh, well, we've already done that to get up here, so we'll just delete this part because we know that our count is already too high at this point. So now we're going to assign, instead of assigning it to trend line 1, we're going to assign it to trend line to delete trend line. All right, the drawing objects 3 at the oldest trend line, S-type trend line, and then we're going to delete the delete trend line. Okay, and I feel like, yep, there we go. Okay, so now when we come down here, now trend line is not affected. And then when it does cross under the trend line, when I say not affected, I mean it hasn't been past the values, the elements of the one we want to delete. So this is our most recent trend line that was created. Okay, so we're looking to see when that thing was crossed, when high crosses under it. If it does, then we're going to do all this. We're going to plot the low. You see all those lows are plotting up. All these things I was trying to do to get it to activate, to figure out what was going on, it's all working now. So we're going to, we don't need this. We'll mute it out. Okay. Comment that out. I don't know where. I've got some extra stuff in here. All right, so we just need to, if all this is true, then we're going to broken. All right, good. So now we should only have about 15 lines. We've got more than that. And we've got different colored lines. Look at that. That is special. Oh, well, I think these different color lines are just saying that essentially you didn't have a high that crossed under it, so it didn't trigger this green. I guess it skipped under it, kind of a thing. So those are technicalities. But we do need to get this this number control back into check. So again, if the drawing objects dot count is greater than items to keep, then delete objects. Delete objects. Trend line. Delete trend line. Delete trend line is equal to drawing objects. All right. Trend line that color that green. Drawing objects that delete. Why do I feel like there are like drawing objects got drawn again? Okay. So if the count is greater than the, well, let's check items to keep, make sure that it didn't go to some, yeah, it did. When I was playing with it, I changed it to 75. All right, so we're gonna move it to 5. And that's what I was telling you earlier about, you know, if you do change it within your script, or if you change it here on your chart, it's gonna go by the one based on the chart. It won't go by what you have in here. So just keep that in mind. You know, I was gonna go through and I was gonna search for another 5 minutes about what I had messed up in the program, and it was just simply a user change within the chart. So let's just verify that. Should only have 5 on here. Okay, good. So we only have 5. Whoa, man! I've been at that for a while. Gosh, that is such a great feeling. And I think as much as programming and I have a kind of a love-hate relationship, it's mostly love. It's love. But I enjoy the breakthroughs. So I enjoy the breakthroughs more than I hate the trying to figure it out. So anyways, we got 2, 3, 4. Is that 5? 2, 4, 5. Okay. All right. So we've got our. So did we do everything we set out for? Okay. So we moved the plots and we changed the defaults. Yes. We changed the color of the lines with the input. Yes. We added a method to code the trend line break and the color change. So yes, this is a method to code the trendline break, and it also so we figured out how to do the trendline break, which was using the .getValue function, or that method. I guess it's a function. And we made two methods. One of them was to delete the object, so that's a better job there than what we had done before. And then the second one was to actually change the color of the object. While we're in here, let's go ahead and change the I wonder, do we even need to call it? Yeah, we do. All right, let's go ahead and change the weight as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to change the weight of the trend line. So we're going to make it trend line of 2 dot weight. It's probably on like 1 now. We're going to change it to 3. Okay, you see how I made it thicker? So now when you look at your chart, obviously all these are in the past, so they probably crossed one point or another. But we're going to, you see we have a new trend line here. So let's go ahead and change this real quick. We're going to change it to if last bar on chart. Okay, so now all these are black. And if this crosses under, then this should get darker and it'll turn green. This is awesome. We get a chance to test it out, see how it works. While that's going, I'm just going to kind of look through here. Add method, code, trend line, break, and color change. Yeah, so everything is looking good here. Oh, we also wanted to create an alert here, right? So hopefully I got it done in time. Turn the alert on. It's already on. Okay. So when that breaks, we should get a dark green light. This should show up as a dark green line. And you know, obviously you can code your alerts to do different things, to send you an email, to just show up in the screen, to do different things. Woo! All right, there we go. There's the break. We didn't set it up as break intrabar, so this is going to have to close. And that was the high. Now, how come we didn't get?
Strategy alert.
There it goes. Okay, so it waited for this one to close. Oh, because we did the high crosses under. Because until this one actually closed, this high could have came back above it, right? And then that would have meant that it did not cross under. So there we go. Bam, baby! Yeah, that's good. I like that. I like that. All right, so we'll get rid of the rest of this, kind of clean this up a little bit. And then, you know, we'll get ready for the next one on tomorrow. I know everybody doesn't like capital, but I do. So what do I do? That. Okay, and we're gonna go this, all these, move them in, move all this in. This looks good. Move this back. Oop. All these look good. Okay, count span. Looks good. That's by itself. Begin plot. If load, then begin plot. All this. That's indented. Yep. Start point. Count span equals 0. Okay. And I think it just makes it look more uniform. And like when I'm working on multiple things, I can go back here and I can check and see, all right, well, I have already been through this and I've kind of checked this off. And now whatever I type next might be in lowercase, might be different things. And so I can say, all right, well, I haven't quite checked through everything that's lowercase. And that'll give me a way to kind of keep track of what's new and what's not. Because a lot of times when you're doing this much stuff, the new stuff is the stuff that ends up not working. And so that's what you have to go back and really check. Okay, all right, so this looks good. All right, so if you're following along, of course, go here. You can either type all this out, or if you are on Discord with me, you can just ask me to post it on Discord. Actually, that might not be a bad idea anyway. But anyway, we'll just kind of keep going through this. I'm not sure what we'll add to this mix tomorrow, but it will probably be something with a timer, maybe another condition with this trend line break. I'll figure out something to do with a case switch. Yeah, I'll figure out something to do with a case switch. So that first condition will essentially be that we broke through this trend line, and then from here we'll do some type of case switch. You see there we got a new trend line created. Oh yeah, it should go there once this one closes. Yeah, because that's the high, and then that's the high below it. But man, once it dropped through, it was on through. So I wonder what we can do about just saying that the price pierced it instead of the high crossing under it. The price, we could say that the low crosses under it, because once this crosses through it, that is the low. So the close could come back up, the high could come back up. We could either do the open, where the open closes under it, or the low crosses under it. So let's do that the open crosses under it, and then that'll be your entry signal. And open. All right, guys, that's the wifey. So I'm out of here. I'm Eric. I'm out. Peace.